Hello YouTube, Liverpool fan in Japan here, the Miyazaki man Sai. Well, the Martin Zubimendi saga seems to have drawn to a close in the most unfortunate of circumstances. Liverpool dwindled, Richard Hughes and FSG end up with pie on their face, and the Liverpool fan base is close to rebelling again because of FSG's failures. Now this is a channel of substance in abundance, so instead of getting emotional, let's get analytical, look for solutions and get some lessons learned out of these problems and understand what happened and what we can do to remedy this transfer window and give Arne Slot the tools to succeed this season. Because my goodness, your new man coming in, the new infrastructure in place, they're going to need to support their man and their manager and make sure he's got every option at his disposal to make the most out of his season. And we're going to look at the success of pre-season, but also lessons learned from past windows and outstanding actions that needed to be done at the start of his transfer window and have yet to be concluded. So let's get into it. Okay, so at the start of the transfer window, there were expectations on three major fronts. Obviously, transfers coming in to bolster the Liverpool squad, give Arne Slot an actual competitive squad to compete with the likes of Manchester City and Arsenal, overtake them and allow his tactical genius to prevail, to triumph. With the other two main objectives being renewing the contract of Mo Salah, Virgil van Dijk and especially Trent Alexander-Arnold, homegrown wonder boy, the future captain of Liverpool FC, the current captain of Liverpool FC, and our highest goal scorer of the modern era and the ultimate professional. Now, there's still time for these things to happen, but it's worrying that Virgil van Dijk intimated contract talks haven't started yet, and he's pressured the club into giving us a competitive squad and bolstering the squad reinforcements. When the captain says that with such influence, it is a sign and a worry. And just think of the financial downfall we would lose if all three were to leave on a free Bosman transfer. And the final one would be for Arne Slot to analyse the current qualities of the squad, sell not the deadwood, but those that don't quite fit the plan or don't have a place in the current Liverpool foreseeable future, and also give a pathway for the youngsters to break through like Troy and Yoni, really looking promising, and Bacic coming back as well, and it looks like Rio Engamoha might be one for the future as well. So three main objectives, and we seems to be making some movement on the final objective, but the first two, the prior two, are a bit of a worry. And we'll come on to them in a second. Now, it's still a possibility because tactics can beat a squad, can beat the individual, can beat quality on any given day. This is why Rafael Benitez is my favourite Liverpool manager of all time, because he never had a sufficient squad, a quality packed squad to compete with the likes of Chelsea at the time, Man United and other squads, because the owners, Hicks and Gillette, always left him wanting, always left the squad depleted and insufficient. We were winger away at times, we were striker away at times, we were backups away at times, and he competed through sheer brilliance and tactics. Now, Arne Slot is a man of tactics and high caliber, and I think he's shown in pre-season and his stint at Feyenoord that he can compete on a game-by-game basis. But this is a squad game, and he has said himself the Liverpool squad is outstanding in its abundance of quality. We beat Arsenal going toe-to-toe, we beat Man United toe-to-toe, we beat Real Betis, and on any given day, I think Arne Slot with the current squad can beat any team. Saying that, however, people keep bringing about Rodri at Manchester City as the premium number 6, what you aspire to have in your squad and the difference he makes. Similar to Declan Rice. At the same time, there aren't many Rodris in world football, right? And you were hoping that a player like Zubimendi could come in and bridge the gap, add that quality. He would need time to get up to speed as well, get used to Arne Slot's tactics. But Arne Slot does have enough quality in the squad to compete. But saying that, you're handicapping him and putting one arm behind his back by not bringing in the 6, which he has identified, because he made it very clear he wanted to analyse the strengths and weaknesses of the current playing squad, see them in training day to day, go for pre-season, and then identify any weaknesses in the squad, sell any player that wasn't of the caliber to suit his ambitions and objectives for the season, hence why Fabio Carvalho has gone. And credit there, because we got a great fee for Fabio Carvalho, and we showed there is quality in that player. We just didn't fit the Liverpool squad, but we identified number 6. It was leaked out to Paul Joyce and Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano. The Zubimendi was the 6. We were in advanced negotiations. Now, Zubimendi gave his word that he would be coming. Richard Hughes intimated that we were close to this transfer. He's intimated he wanted to leave. However, he did say that before with Arsenal, and this is a traditionally tricky player who's rejected the advances of Barcelona to stay with his hometown club, right? Beautiful location. Homeboy in Real Sociedad. We know the attachment is like Gerrard and Liverpool, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Liverpool, leaving your hometown club, the hometown hero, causing a ruckus over there, putting them in disarray because Mikel Moreno might leave as well. They already lost Le Normand to Atletico Madrid. So The longer the transfer went on, we knew it was becoming more difficult. However, the signs were always positive in the fact that he got to the stage where Real Sociedad even threatened that he had to pay his transfer release clause. But it wasn't really a threat because it was always realistic. Now, take a step back here and give everyone a bit of breathing space. Now, in order for Zubimendi to come, and if Real Sociedad were not unwilling to negotiate on the transfer release clause, then the actual mechanism for Zubimendi to come to Liverpool would be Zubimendi having to pay out his release clause. Liverpool cannot pay it on his behalf. Liverpool can give him a check, give him the lump sum, give him a loan or bridge or whatever so that he can pay it. But ultimately, Zubimendi has to physically take the action himself or through his agent or his management to break his contract. And that was always the holding point, right? I know there's a lot of discussion around Liverpool should have triggered it. At the time he said yes, Liverpool should have triggered a release clause. Even if there was no negotiation. And sometimes you do have to do your due diligence, right? Because a million saved is a million saved. You could have thrown the transfer release clause at Zubimendi or Real Sociedad and said, we'll pay it straight away. And who knows if that did happen or didn't happen. It's all speculation because it's only journalists reporting. And you should learn by now to take words as cheap. Words are cheap. Action is everything. Until he's leaning and signed on the dotted line and appeared in the interviews, because interviews aren't enough, because Nabil Fekir actually did his media interviews until the contract is actually signed and all the paperwork is done on both ends. Because even if you sign your paperwork and the other sending club doesn't complete the paperwork in time to the formal registrants like the Premier League or La Liga, transfers can still fall through even though you've done your diligence, a player's signed and you've signed on your end, if the paperwork is not completed on Real Sociedad's part. So it is diligent to negotiate, but even if you wanted to pay the release clause, Zubimendi ultimately would have had to trigger that mechanism himself with all the cash and money in his hand. And it always could have come to the point where he was ready to do it and Real Sociedad presented that PowerPoint presentation about sweating and the beautiful mountains and all that kind of thing, and ultimately convinced him and turned his head and guilt tripped him. So that particular aspect I have no issue with. But the other aspect that I do have an issue with is if you wanted Arne Slot to analyse the players and give his judgment on them before targeting someone, and then you've gone with a number 6, the lack of a plan B or backup options. Now that's all well and good because that's, once again, is talk. We don't actually know what will happen in the window until it happens, because remember, famously, Hodgson and the board at the time said Danny Ward could be the #1 goalkeeper going into the season, and then moments later we signed Alisson Becker and the rest is history, right? So talk is cheap. You don't want to raise the prices for other potential prospects and targets. And I know people are now furious and impatient and not willing to wait till the end of the transfer window. But remember, last year, in the end of the transfer window, we did sign Ryan Gravenberch after a long protracted saga as well, will he, won't he? And Wataru Endo, as some people would say a stopgap option, but he was a fantastic, valuable asset for last season and really showed his quality. And the biggest gain of Wataru Endo stepping up and showing his worth, and I did predict it right at the start of his signing, was the existence of this Liverpool fan in Japan channel. The Miyazaki Man site arrived into the community, and my goodness, what a trip it's been. It's been like 8 months since I created this channel, and thank you so much for the support. Really hit the like, helps this channel grow, and we are building the best community because I take the time to honestly reply with a valid and detailed reply because I like to instigate conversation. I like to learn as well, and any opinions that you have, I'm all ears, and I'm also willing to incorporate it into these videos as well. So thank you so much. Comment below what you think, and let's get on with the video. So if we wind back now into last season's transfer windows, without Edwards, without Richard Hughes in place, right? Jurgen Klopp leading the recruitment from the top with George Schmadtke. It was going to be a B-rated transfer window. Szoboszlai coming in, we triggered a release clause there. McAllister coming in, we triggered a release clause there. And then final moments, Wataru Endo and Ryan Gravenberch. Ryan Gravenberch could prove to be the jewel in the crown eventually, and Wataru Endo fulfilled the purpose, even though now going on to 3 or 4 seasons, we haven't signed Fabinho, long-term successor. That is a worry. But you look at the profile that Arne Slot is targeting: Zubimendi, a deep line controller, tempo maestro, not a destroyer, not a traditional defensive midfielder. We have one of those in Wataru Endo as well. The closest thing in the squad would be Stefan Bajcetic or Tyler Morton, who may or may not go out on loan now or be sold. So you look at the other targets. You can't just suddenly say Ederson from Atalanta, right? Or any other box-to-box athletic destroyer midfielder, because it looks as though he wants someone to sit deep and pull the strings, in which case my prediction for Kakare still holds up trumps because he's that type of player as well. Very, very proficient for Lyon. But it is a worry that the ambition shown might deter Virgil van Dijk from renewing. It depends how the season goes and his relationship with Arne Slot and if we're moving in the right direction. But also Trent Alexander-Arnold, who can see Real Madrid signing Los Galacticos, Zidanes y Pavones again, right? All the wonder kids, strengthening transfer window on transfer window with the most prominent players in the world. Let's see where his loyalty and his ambitions lie. You wouldn't blame him for the move, but at the same time, he's a homegrown lad. It means more when you've raised the profile and the achievements winning with your hometown club than joining the ranks of the global superstars and just being another fish in the superstar pond. So let's see where those goes. But at the same time, Mo Salah is obviously motivated by records in the Premier League and pushing himself and competing at the highest level. So I don't actually think the threat of Saudi Arabia is that prominent with Mo Salah. It's just a case of the finances involved in the deal. So different circumstances between him, Van Dijk and Trent. But the lack of ambition shown by FSG is worrying, and Richard Hughes is going to have a PR disaster because his first stint wanting to make an impact is not going smoothly at all. But I honestly believe you have to read between the lines here, because the three transfer targets, the positions, would be a deep-lying six playmaker, tempo maestro, as I intimated as well, a backup for Mo Salah, so you're looking for a right winger who can play make from the right hand side, or alternatively someone who is more of a traditional right winger and can take the man on in and around the outside as well, and a centre-back, the long-term successor for Virgil van Dijk, especially now more important that Joel Matip has gone, because he really added something with his long legs striding to midfield, and you need that replacement for Van Dijk to rotate him on occasion because he is getting older, and to add that quality. Jarrell Quansah is a start in the making, but he's still young. You can't hold your hat on Konate and Joe Gomez. Potential injuries away from, disaster there. Sepp Vandenberg wasn't included in the last friendly, so he'll probably be shifted on alongside Bobby Clark as well. So let's see what Richard Hughes can pull out of his magic hat, his gleaming smile in the last few weeks of the transfer window. But it is worrying that the fact that they won't get a full pre-season, because not of the fact that Olympics and the South American tournaments and the Euro 2024 disrupted it, but the fact that Arne Slot and Richard Hughes, who are in conversation every day, as well as Michael Edwards being in conversation with Richard Hughes every day, decided to review the squad and target Zubimendi at this stage. But if he is your target, you have to go along with the prerogative that some things do take time. You can't rush through everything. There's multiple parties involved, multiple agents involved, clubs, paperwork, all this kind of stuff, and ultimately it's bitten us in the ass. But even if the journalist rumours that the number 6 is not high in the agenda in terms of the backup options because perhaps we haven't identified anyone, I hope it's not we don't have value in the market, or it's not a buyer's market right now, that kind of thing. But it could be for the fact that we're targeting the right winger and centre back as more important. When you have a list of all your short list targets, you don't say 6, got to get that 6 and go for a name of 6s. You say, this is the number 1 player, Zubimendi, the 6, let's get him in first, opportunity is there. Next, it might be a prominent winger. It might be the Anthony Gordon saga coming to an end in our favour. Who knows, that would be a fantastic signing as well. It might be a name out of the blue. The Caicedo thing came out of nowhere, right? We didn't do our due diligence. We kind of gave up because we thought Chelsea already turned his head. It turns out Chelsea did turn his head and we still bid anyway. So Liverpool have to bid to try to rescue this transfer window and get Arne Slot the quality he needs for this coming season to compete. And I sincerely believe, if the rumours are true, that they're not targeting another 6 in this window because they can't find a suitable alternative to Zubimendi who would do better, hit the ground running and offer us something over Curtis Jones, Gravenberch, McAllister, Watado, Endo, etc. Because yes, I know people aren't going to say that. Don't hang your hat on Troy Ignoni coming in and being the replacement, and don't try to shoehorn Gravenberch and Curtis Jones there because they could have been the solution and you still try to get Zubimendi. Because Zubimendi's a different type of player. Still have Endo and Maka, who did a fantastic job last season in the biggest of games. I kid you not, against the Man City, against the Arsenal, against the Chelsea, against the Man United, all the way through the season. And we were competing for the Premier League until the early parts of this year when we ran out of fuel, ran out of legs. They did a sterling job in that holding position, and they are ballers and players of the highest caliber, so they can step up. Don't disregard their quality just for the fact that they're not a Zubimendi and they're not a different player. But we're obviously in desperate need for an additional 6 to partner them and give the option for Maka to push up and rotate Endo or play alongside Endo or Bajcetic or whoever at the base, right? So don't get me wrong, I'd love the 6, but it could be an indication that now their focus is shifting to getting in that right wing rotational option, the backup option to Mo Salah and the centre back. And if they do come in and they are high caliber players of a high price tag that can hit the ground running, it wouldn't be the most disastrous window because the squad is still packed full of quality and we have a master tactician at the helm in Arne Slot. And I do honestly believe it's the sagas of Romeo Lavia where we wouldn't stump up the extra 2 to 3 million. And obviously, even though he wanted to join Liverpool, he eventually went to Chelsea because they did bid them out. And the Caicedo lost the last season. That's really egging some people on and bringing on the furore and the ferocity and the rage. And I completely understand. I am also severely disappointed and depressed at losing Zubimendi as well. But at the end of the day, you can understand him staying. So it's not really on his shoulders, the failure of this transfer. It's not really on Real Sociedad because you try everything to keep a player of Zubimendi's quality, your hometown hero as well. And at Liverpool, the fault is predominantly on different characters at Liverpool. More so, in my opinion, Richard Hughes, who believes he had a verbal agreement with a player who's known to break his verbal agreements and be, you know, committed to his hometown club. But also, perhaps, and I would put the blame more on him for this particular issue than FSG. FSG historically have messed up, but at the same time we have had success under them. But this particular window cannot be laid on FSG directly. It's Richard Hughes who's pulling all the strings with Michael Edwards in command of him, and it's between them two that we find our situation at the moment being the only club in the top 5 European leagues without a transfer in and around the first team, right? So yeah, there's that. But one thing I do disagree with the fan base around is that the Arne Slot is a yes man. They brought Arne Slot in to say yes and whatever happens, happens. He'll deal with it. He'll turn wine into water. No, Arne Slot had the opportunity to join Tottenham. He didn't take it. He joined Liverpool because he believes he can make Liverpool into winners. He wants to win things. Now, my first impressions, and you tell me below in the comments if you disagree, Arne Slot is serious. He is ruthless and meticulous to the nth degree, even more focused and concentrated on winning than being a fan favourite or playing to the crowd or showing a jovial attitude. In his word, he does not mince his word. He is keen on success, and with or without signings, he will do everything to try to succeed. And I honestly believe he is not a yes man. If he saw a player that he really liked in a position that he really needed to strengthen, that he'd put his foot down, because he's the man that Richard Hughes, Michael Edwards, and ultimately FSG chose to lead Liverpool into the new frontier post Jurgen Klopp. And it's hard enough to replace the man himself, the legend Jurgen Klopp, but when you bring in Arne Slot, you better back him and give him all the tools to succeed. But even without that, Arne Slot has enough about him, I think, to be competitive. So for everyone writing off Liverpool and saying that Slot is a yes man, or saying that we have no hope and no chance without the number 6, I think you might be a little bit deluded there, because Liverpool are good enough to compete. We may not be favourites, but that is where the tactical side comes in, where the preparation comes in, where the stroke of genius comes in, why you pay someone like Arne Slot, why you put your faith in the man to roll the dice, to come up with trumps, to win the match on any given occasion, in game. Now, I think Arne Slot, in preparation and in game and in his development of players, and especially in the injury front and the fitness of the players with his style, is much more suited for a long campaign than Jurgen Klopp's ultimate gen pressing, high intensity, high tempo style, because that may work for a season or two, but the players burn out. And now if you don't have the player loyalty and you have the checkbook and you bring in the replacements to replace the players who have given it all but are burned out and should become backup, then perhaps Klopp's longevity at a club for sustained success could be good. And he's only moments away from winning everything anyway with the current squad, with the current transfer budget. Without rewriting history, I still am a firm believer that Liverpool can do great things this season, and there still are weeks in the transfer window. And I'm yet to be convinced otherwise. No one can convince me that this Liverpool team does not have a chance to beat Man City or Arsenal or compete in the league. Because from what I've seen, I'm so optimistic, because pre-season has gone so well. And people might say it's only pre-season, but pre-season is all you have to go on, and indicators are good. You cannot fault the playing performances and the players' performances in pre-season so far. And the old adage that you strengthen from a position of strength is completely true if the right target is available and they're willing to come. So what this does allow you for, I know people saying we're building up the war chest sarcastically, the meme, right? We have the golden war chest from Caicedo and now from Zubimendi, which shows we actually have the money for potential signing. Only really comes into relevance if they pull the trigger, if FSG, Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards decide the player is the one and actually put the money front up, like Caicedo, right? So I know that it looks like we're not going for the plan B, we're not going for the plan C, but once again, if the right player is available, the kind of generational talent, and I hate that term because they use that for Lenny Yoro and now he's injured and now what, right? But it does mean that at least you're well positioned for when the next Super 6 becomes available, that perhaps you now have that extra budget to go above and beyond if you identify that he is an absolute game changer. Because as much as I wanted Martin Zubimendi to come, and he's a classy player and I love that type of player over a destroyer at the base, and I'm not afraid to say that, He's not a Van Dijk, and he's not an Alisson, and he's not a Mo Salah either. And even though it does worry me, right, when Endo away from Maka playing 6 again, or Maka, an injury away from Maka and Endo being out, and then it's a Gravenberch or Curtis Jones or Szoboszlai in the 6th position. But that is where tactics prevail and preparedness prevails, and it's a squad game to defend from the front and defend your lines to make sure the opposition can't break it. And sometimes for me, I love the underdog story, and I love the fact that Igor Biscan can come in and do a job. The Talek can come in against Juventus, or you defend for your lives and Michael Owen can win you the FA Cup against Arsenal, or you absolutely on the back foot and then Luis Garcia smacks in a volley on the full to beat Gigi Buffon, or Vladimir Smica coming in out of the blue and smashing in a long shot against Dida and scoring the winning penalty even on one leg. So for now, I'm willing to hold judgment because the Ipswich game is coming up. I'm going to be live streaming that. Join me for the live stream. I'm hoping we win that, come up to a good start. We have good fixtures, a good run of fixtures at the start where I think the squad is prepared enough to get enough with enough quality with Arne Slot at the helm to win those fixtures. But I will be scathing at Richard Hughes, at Michael Edwards and FSG overall if by the end of the window we do not come up with the options in Arne Slot's squad to give him every tool at his disposal that he needs to give a proper go and utilize his tactical genius to try to overcome Man City and Arsenal, because it's hard enough to take over from Jurgen Klopp without the backing of the board. And you've got to imagine that Barry Hunter, Richard Hughes, Michael Edwards, well-renowned characters of high prominence and ability, well paid as well, aren't sitting on their arse doing nothing, that they've got to do something to really make an impact in this transfer window. They can't leave it all to Arne Slot's tactical prowess and genius to pull a rabbit out of the hat and overachieve. It's hard enough to come into a new club and instill your philosophy without the players coming in that transition as well. And some players might suggest that we look at Feyenoord, right? Get the players in familiar system there, but that's not how it works. You don't want mediocrity or average players. You want that long-term quality, hopefully for the first team that can bump those players down to the bench and second levels, or at least compete on a rotational basis. And that's what I'm hoping for. We obviously have the money. We have a huge scouting network. Richard Hughes has his contact book. He better make the most of it and get the signings in. There's still time. Pull the trigger. Use whatever financial levers you want. Get the players in to give Arne Slot the best chance to succeed. Get the fans off the back of FSG, because everyone needs to come together for this ultimate season of the new era where we have a fantastic chance to do something special. The fan base needs to unite. We're not Man United. We're not the Bitters. We're not a checkbook oil run club as well. We're Liverpool FC, where this means more. In Jurgen Klopp's own words, you will never walk alone, and hopefully these people in high positions can get their act together to give Arne Slot the signings to cover the obvious gaps. I mean, Thiago Alcantara, that's already a huge loss. We banked his savings in terms of wages. And Joel Matip was a huge loss because he was more or less first choice with Virgil van Dijk for the past few seasons. And Adrian San Miguel is a huge loss behind the scenes, and there's a whole new staff, a whole new backroom staff coming in as well. And I know they'll have the opportunity to reinvigorate the player base and make sure that they can hopefully reach their potential in the new system, with Curtis Jones having intimated that this new system suits everybody. But yep, signings work a wonder, work a treat. It absolutely raising the morale of the fan base, especially if it's a good player, right? A coveted player that people want. And, you know, how excited we were by Zubimendi rejecting Arsenal, Barcelona, potentially coming to Liverpool. But there are those doomsayers who said that we'd never get him. And sure, you were proved right in the end. But ultimately, dillying and dallying helps nobody. I understand what happened. I can kind of accept it, even though I wanted Zubimendi. But I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt that we'll beat Ipswich and go into next fixture, hopefully, on red hot form and fire. If we can get enough goal difference, sit there at the top of the table, that'd be nice as well. And signings come in before the end of the transfer window, and we can get them up to speed. We finished pre-season off in style. Liverpool, the new season is on us. Come on guys, enjoy football, enjoy the match. I'll walk you through all the tactics and analysis as well. Come and help me build the best community on the web. Guys, I really sincerely love you all. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I'm a Liverpool fan first and foremost. I want Liverpool to do well. At the same time, I'm realistic. Hopefully this analysis was useful. You know me, I love my merch and Liverpool kit. I've got to smash open a new piece of kit here to cheer myself up. Cheer you guys up as well, because yeah, I'm sure you love me to see me changing clothes. It's black. It's completely black. When did we... Is this like a special edition? Special edition top? I don't remember. This is like a commemorative top, isn't it? Someone remind me in the comments below. But it's got Gini Wijnaldum, one of the most underrated players of the Klopp era. He facilitated everything, made us work, a vital cog. He was never injured, always available. Availability is one of the key factors and assets in a successful season. And that's fantastic for this video. My goodness, what a coincidence. That's got to be a good sign, right? Every player stay injury free and we'll win the Premier League. Yeah, baby. Gini Wijnaldum, number 5. Got to whip this on. Hold me back, hold me back. I'm ready to go. Number 6 position, I'm signing next week. Good look, I'm fit and ready to go. I'm going to show you my pre-season video as well. So I souped up the gym to record some Liverpool videos. I'll show you that video very, very soon. Liverpool's transfer committee done funked already, but there's still time to remedy it. Get to work, Hughes! Hughesy, sign them players for Slot and let the slot machine roll on like a well-oiled machine. And sort out the contracts for Van Dijk, Trent and Mo Salah. You got the money to do it. Don't let us down. Miyazaki man, Ichiban. Until next time, Janet means ciao. And sign some players.